We are a premium odds feed provider and trading service provider. We have a top to bottom approach. So when we build a sport, we try to build every aspect of the sport. Every aspect of our product is fully customizable, so the customer can really cherry pick what part of the product they want, what competition coverage they want. Two main trends. One is the player props, I would say the player props. And the other, I would say, trend that all our customers always, are very focused on is the uptime.
And how is that with baseball this year?
Yes, baseball is by far the best fit when it comes to micro market. I would say the last World Series is an example. Not all the games last 8 hours, but
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sports Betting Conversations, DataArt. Today, we're joined by Francesco Borgosano, CEO and founder at Huddle. Francesco, thank you very much for giving us some time today. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
yeah, thank you, Russell and Kevin, for having me. As I said, I'm a CEO and founder at Huddle. I've been in the sports betting industry for about 15 years. Started in the industry with a quantitative background. So my first role was as a quantitative analyst. So my passion has always been for, using data and technology to solve problem in the sports betting industry. And, I went through the rank working first for, big B2C and B2B. And then when PASPA was repealed, moved to the United States and joined Simplebet, where I was Chief Analytics Officer first and then Chief Operating Officer. And that's been a great learning experience because was my first startup experience. So it gave me exposure to, fundraising and, dealing with investors and equity and all that, which was, again, as I said, a big lesson. And then after I left Simplebet, I felt that now I had enough know-how and understanding of the, startup dynamics, as well as I felt that there was a widening gap between the product need of an operator and what technology solutions were out there. So I decided to found Huddle together with three other partners who also came with an industry background. So we started Huddle in 2020, and here we are today.
Great, great. Thank you for that background. And so, what does Huddle focus on as an organization?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, when we started Huddle in 2020, our vision was always to uh, look at what are the core problems that an operator face when operating, in multiple jurisdiction with the need of, offering, tailored product and tailored trading services. So we are a premium odds feed provider and trading service provider. We started primarily on with a focus on US sports because again we founded our in 2020, so that was kind of like early day of the US market. And of course, we found that there was a gap in the market because, in Europe, those sports were never big revenue drivers. So there wasn't really an incentive in building advanced models for US sports. So we started with that. And now lately, this year, we tackled other sports. So we are developing new product for soccer and tennis, which are, traditionally big revenue driver outside of the US market.
Yeah, understood. And when you're working with clients, so you mentioned like you focus on tailored solutions, like what, and you don't have to mention specific clients if you can, but what are kind of some of the common themes that they come across as their pain points?
Yeah, so I think so when so first of all, when we approach like any sport, we have a top to bottom approach. So when we build a sport, we try to build every aspect of the sport. So we cover everything from core and derivative market, player props, micro market, and same game parlay, which is now probably the fastest growing um, product we see out there. Uh, and that's because we want to give consistency in the product across the whole offering. But that said, every aspect of our product is fully customizable, so the customer can really cherry pick what part of the product they want, what competition coverage they want, and most importantly, they can customize their trading strategy, their suspension strategy. And really for us, what we have seen with our customer base is, I would say, two main trends. One is the player props. I would say the player props has been by far the most on-demand product. And the other, I would say, trend that all our customers always, are very focused on is the uptime, especially because, in-play wagering is now a big portion of their handle. For some of our clients, even more than pre-match, you have 60/40 in play versus pre-match. So the uptime is very important to make sure that they can, maximize their handle while, maintaining an acceptable level of risk. So I think those two are the two main trends. And that's also why it's worth mentioning, because I spoke about the player props. It's worth mentioning our partnership with Sportradar.
Hmm.
As as a startup, the biggest challenge we faced, I would say, early on in the life of Huddle was the integration. Because, for an operator to integrate a third-party feed is always, a big effort, and, they work with very busy roadmap and backlog, all of that. So getting bandwidth to get integrated has always been like a big challenge. Um, so for us, being able to remove that friction, having our product distributed to the unified host feed, was a big win, and we're now, uh, you know, seeing the benefits of that partnership.
Yeah.
Right. So you get someone like Sports Radar. Was the focus with that deal on the work you're doing with the American sports? For example, like I'm a hockey fan,
Yep.
and a lot of the betting, is focused obviously in the US on football, and we have March Madness. When you look at a market like hockey, what are you seeing? Because I'm just interested as the trends, let's say the season's just starting and you're talking about your product now with Sports Radar. Like what are they looking at to grow the business with the NHL, let's say, or hockey in general as a betting area? What are we looking at now for hockey?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and you're right on point in the sense that yes. So this partnership was specifically for US sport, and we cover all the majors. So we actually roll out our player props for NHL ahead of the season that just started. So yeah, so again, even for ice hockey, the biggest demand is the player props.
Player props.
So shots, assists, goal,
Right.
saves, blocks. So all sort of like player props for NHL, and those are products that we roll out this season with the unified odds feed. I would say for ice hockey, on the contrary of the other major, and that's, I would say, because of the dynamic of the game, there isn't a lot of focus on micro market, because ice hockey is a continuous game. Like you don't have, let's say, the play-by-play structure that you have in baseball and football.
Right.
So while yes, we offer what we consider micro market for ice hockey as well, like next goal, next team to score. I would say they're not as popular as micro market are in other sports.
Interesting. And how is that with baseball this year? With
Yeah,
what
baseball.
trends have you seen with baseball especially in the micro marketing? Now
Yes,
that
I think
we're shooting this during the World Series, which is it's an interesting
yes.
World Series season.
Yes, baseball is by far the best fit when it comes to micro market.
Got
I
it.
mean, I'll say the last World Series is an example. Not all the games last 8 hours, but
I'm
but
still recovering.
but it's a very slow paced game. So, for example, in baseball, what we've seen as the most, I'll say, on demand product is actually the plate appearance and the at bat,
Right.
because they basically If you think about it, they kind of give you that gamified experience where you're watching the game for hours and you just keep betting small amounts on the next plate appearance, on the next at bat. So it kind of keep the engagement during the game. So for the MLB in particular, we've seen a lot of interest around micro markets.
Now, in recent news, with the issue with the NBA and some of the kind of negative light that's been shed on sports betting. And I mean, most of the problems have to do like with these like micro bets and single game parlays and statistics, I guess, focused betting. Um, have any of your clients, mentioned like, hey, how do we build in a little more security or fraud detection into your product?
Yeah, no, I think first of all, this is definitely a challenge because the micro markets present a perfect opportunity for this type of uh, individual with ill intent because it's easy to throw away a free throw or a pitch without necessarily affecting the outcome of the game. So it's definitely an area that the whole industry is very much focused. And it's worth mentioning, again, Radar is the official partner of the NBA. So they have this, which we are part of that service and we found it very helpful. They have this integrity service where, in a anonymized way, all the operators and providers that are part of this service share data in real time.
Mhm.
So that kind of like create a network effect where now, using machine learning and AI, you can detect patterns in the betting and uh, the more. So I hope the industry will keep pushing that direction. In my opinion, the only way to really manage and solve this problem is an effort of the whole industry. So
Yeah.
the more operator share data, the more providers and the more players in the space share data, the easier it will be to detect this type of activities and this type of illegal match fixing. And so I I disagree because, as you correctly pointed out on the news, I heard about like banning product, and I don't think that's necessarily the issue because banning that type of product in a regulated market will only push clients and players toward black markets and unregulated operators. So I don't think it will solve the problem. Uh, if anything, as said, a push toward regulation and transparency is what can really help.
Yeah, it's not like match fixing didn't happen before sports
Exactly.
betting was legal. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
It's all those tennis characters that you hang out with.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
lot in
they're
that world.
definitely responsible.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Um, got it. So in terms of technology, we just kind of shift conversation a little bit. Yeah, since DataArt, we're an IT integrator, we're a mid-size consulting company with several thousand engineers. So we most of our work is focused on technology, and from for us it's interesting, and we ask all of our clients on these, or all of our guests on hopefully future clients on these interviews is how I guess challenging was it to kind of set up the proper technology stack, and yeah, how were you able to kind of scale to introduce Sport Radar as one of your partners? Because that's pretty sure a heavy lift from a technical perspective.
Yeah, and again, I follow your work, and I think for us the biggest challenge, and I think this is also one of the, for example, in my previous role. as chief analytics officer, as a, quantitative. I think one of the biggest, I would say, misconception in general, not only in our industry, I would say in general when it comes to AI and algorithmic solution, is that I would say non-practitioner only think about the use case. They think about, okay, I can use AI for customer profiling. And the algorithmic solution per se is actually probably the easiest part of delivering the AI solution. But it only accounts for 5% of what's needed to unlock that AI use cases. I think what people don't understand is all the infrastructure that goes behind in terms of data coordination, data cleaning,
Hmm.
data manipulation.
Yeah.
So that's so when we start Huddle, we actually released our first product 24 months after we started the company. So for the first 2 years, we only focus on the core infrastructure. So really building all the data pipelines, building our, data ontology, building our, microservices in a way that could support multiple clients in multiple jurisdictions. So I think that's the part that we are most proud of, even if it's, I would say, the less visible out there. Uh, but I think this is also what, in the long run, gives us the flexibility and the capability to really customize our product to the needs of our clients. So yeah, we spent, as I said, about 2 years and we worked, because most of our engineering is based in Zagreb, in Europe, in Croatia. So we had a partnership with the University of Zagreb. They have a very uh, advanced computer science department. So we were working with some of the professors there. I would say most of the engineers in our team come from that department, and uh, it really helped to kind of like build that data infrastructure that I mentioned.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the things that we do as well is we kind of go to the universities, and I mean that's a excellent strategy. You know, if I can offer an opinion, it's worked well for us. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Great.
And you touched upon AI, and that's kind of something that by law we have to mention now at DataArt. Um, so. What are kind of some of the more interesting, and if you can't, get into it, we understand, but if you can speak at a high level, kind of the more interesting like uses, I guess, for you in terms of like building the product, where you've used AI.
Yeah, I think the two, and again, it is like a bit, could be a bit of an unpopular opinion. Like, I'm not a huge believer of the AI in the odds making part, in the sense that we, because of the changes in rules and roster and all of that, it's very difficult to build a huge statistical data set that is meaningful. And yes, there are techniques where you can, have time filters and other things. But generally speaking, we tend to have other mathematical approach to odds making, because you use stochastic modeling and other type of solution there. Uh, but where we are very bullish on the AI is the risk management.
Hmm.
I think on the risk side, especially when it comes to the two things that I mentioned earlier, I think especially when it comes to detecting betting patterns, so extracting signals from betting activity, that's definitely one use case where we've seen AI being very successful. And of course, it requires the know-how of the traders, because as you design your AI solution, you need to make sure that you highlight the right features. But that's definitely a use case where we've seen, and in that case, you deal with a lot of data, because you're talking about uh, hundreds of thousands, millions of bets. So you have plenty of data to go about. And the other one is, of course, on a similar fashion, the customer profiling and customer segmentation. So again, using a similar data set, we use AI to, profile from a risk perspective clients. So identify sharp clients or recreational clients, and then we use that information as part of our trading services to kind of like tailor our risk strategy based on the customer base.
That's interesting with the risk management part. We're actually one of our sports betting clients came to us with that specific ask. If we can build a risk management platform custom, like they didn't really weren't thrilled with what they saw in the market with AI capabilities. And it's been, I would say, like one of the more successful um, I guess AI projects, that I've seen. It really makes an impact there for them.
Yeah.
Not only for the efficiency perspective, but cost savings. And what's interesting about that I learned about risk management is that when it's done manually, you have personalities involved, and then like weird things happen when personalities clash between players and the risk management folks. And when you have AI do it for you and take that out of the equation, it kind of makes it a little bit more, I would say, less um weighted right towards one way or the other.
No, 100%. And it's actually, no, you made a very good point, and it's actually true. And we've seen that as well. You also see that, especially, in large operators, I used to work, for Ladbrokes Stars Group. So we had, more than 100 people in our risk team.
Hmm.
Um, you also, once you kind of like dig deeper into the data, you also see like individual bias. Like you see
Yeah.
how different traders
Hmm.
react to losses. Like, a, a typical example that I always make when we talk about this, for example, the day after a big loss, you have someone that comes in is like, oh, yesterday I lost big, so today I'm gonna go all in, try to recover from the loss.
Hmm.
And then you see the opposite side of the spectrum is like, oh, yesterday I made a big loss, so today I don't want to make another big loss, so I'm gonna be very extra careful and extra defensive because I don't want to lose, 2 days in a row. And to your point, if you use machine learning and AI or other statistical approaches, then you eliminate the human bias. And also, I think something to say is that, you know, I've been now in the industry almost 15 years. Uh, while back in the days, this type of algorithmic solution may have been a luxury, it may be like, okay, I I can explore this type of techniques. Now, given the amount of markets and product that is out there, it's just humanly impossible to uh, operate the same way as operators did 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago we didn't have player props, we didn't have uh, SGP, we didn't have micro market. So and in Europe, football was 90% of the revenue. So you'll be dealing primarily with a single sport. So again, the changes in product has had a drastic impact on the operation as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Um, Kevin, any final thoughts?
No, this has been a great conversation, especially for us with DataArt. We spent a lot of time, working, data is in our name, right? And, and,
Yeah,
and we're excited to have you come on because I think what you're doing is probably why Russell and I took a swing at sports betting, right? Because we knew this day was coming where the data is going to be the most important part of some of the conversations in sports betting. So I think you're onto something, powerful for the industry.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, Francesco, thank you very much for your time today, man. This has been great. We learned a lot
Yeah.
about you and about Huddle. So, we're looking forward to having you back in the future and give
Thanks
us
for
an
having me.
update. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
it was a
Great.
pleasure.